Welcome to the OC Politics Show, keeping politics bipartisan, local, and on the level.
Welcome to the OC Politics Show. I'm Joe Matthews.
And I'm Todd DeVoe.
Todd, it's Election Eve spectacular.
It is Election Eve.
Yes, let's get that warm blankie. Let's get some hot cocoa. Let's put another log on the fire. Let's get all cozy, and let's learn about what's going to happen, because this is going to be one for the lifetime. On the eve of an election of our lifetime, I should say, we look at and beyond the national headlines and focus on the local races. Can Democrat Melissa Fox join the blue wave and defeat GOP incumbent Steve Choi? Will history repeat itself with our congressional districts? Will it be 2018 all over again? Will there be an election aftermath? Can religious leaders urge calm? And now for the political whip around.
There he is. Whoa. 9 candidates are seeking to fill 2 seats at the Rancho Santa Margarita City Council.
The battle for Orange County's congressional seats. Will 2018 repeat itself?
Anxious religious leaders come together to urge calm in Orange County ahead of Election Day.
GOP incumbent Steve Choi in a tight race with Democratic Melissa Fox in 68th Assembly District.
Outstanding. Hey, Joseph, do you know what a crazy ballot box is happening today or tomorrow? I guess it's happening today because early vote too, right? And that we have these national elections coming out that's all over the headlines. We'll talk about that a little bit too. But locally speaking, in Orange County, there are 9 candidates seeking to be on the city council here at the Rancho Santa Margarita, the city council. And you know what the biggest topic is over there?
What?
Redistricting and affordable housing. So over there, there's an area in Dove Canyon, which is a bunch of light industrial warehousing type stuff. And they're looking at rezoning that into housing to help with affordable housing in that area. And so you have candidates and that's a tax base, right? I mean, like realistically, those businesses that are in there are providing taxes for the city to do their thing. And historically speaking, or not even historically speaking, financially speaking, private property, single family homes do not produce the taxes that a business does. So now it's kind of about the haves and have not, I suppose, or is the city going to shoot themselves in the foot by rezoning an industrial area for housing, even especially affordable housing, which means it's going to be like probably apartments or something along those lines. You know, do you make more money for the city that could use more services for that? The other thing that they're talking about is overseeing their contract with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, fiscal responsibility, public safety, and preserving the planned community, including zoning ordinances for his campaign. That's John, and I'm going to kill his name, Christopoulos. And so those are some of the things that they're talking about over there. And yeah, so if you live in Rancho Santa Margarita, it's going to be time for you to vote because you are looking at what your city will turn into after this election, right? After I guess it's not on the ballot, but people who are supporting this on the ballot are you going to keep the light industrial area tax base, or are you going to tear it down and build or rezone it so you could build affordable housing? What do you think of those issues, Joseph?
How old is Rancho Santa Margarita?
It's less than 20 years old.
Yeah.
The city was incorporated 20 years ago. So 20 years. Exactly.
So even with these 9 candidates, it's like the wild, wild west. It's going to be anyone's game, right?
Absolutely. Right. They have some people, Carol Gamble, who's been on the city council since 2011, and then he was on 2000 to 2004. And Carol Gamble was elected to the city's first governing body. So Gamble is running again. And then you have Tony Beal, who's the current mayor pro tem. Again, he's been there since the beginning. Then Julia Bendis is a Russian immigrant, and she's running for the first time. Really, some of the stuff with the COVID-19 is kind of what her focus is on. Wendy Brom is a Rancho Santiago has been living in Santa. Gosh, I always skill this. Rancho Santiago Rancho Jeepers Creepers, everybody. Punch me in the eye. All right. Rancho Santa Margarita. She's been that resident since 2001. And she's really, her thing is like bridge safety, suicide prevention, and then seniors and teens at risk. That's what her area is. Glenn Acosta has been in the city for 20 years. He's a fiscal conservative and believes in small government. And Ben Schwartz emphasizes the need for increase in affordable housing and for the working class people who live in Rancho Santa Margarita, and he would like to see Dove Canyon definitely rezoned into. I'm sorry, Beth Schwartz. I said Ben. Beth Schwartz. I have a friend named Ben Schwartz. That's probably why I went there with that. And then Audrey Machuca. She wants to create programs that will help serve and educate, foster community, and foster the community. It's kind of weird. Have you ever been up there to Rancho Santa Margarita? It's a planned community. It's very very planned. You know what I mean? Like it's what I mean by that is it's like you have your housing and then you have some little light commercial. It's new. It looks brand new. It looks like somebody just plucked a housing development in the middle of up there in the hills. You got Christopher McLegan, who's running for a nonpartisan agenda, and of course, managing the contract to Orange County Sheriff's Department and preventing the rezoning of Dove Canyon. And we talked about John Christopoulos already, and that's where you rounded off. Although it looks like Gamble has the most money, with Schwartz raising $9,000 or so, or almost 10. And Christopoulos raising almost 10. So if you look at the money leaders, Gamble, Schwartz, and Christopoulos seem to be, and Beal seem to be running the money. Runners. So those four candidates are the money winners. Follow the money.
Well, follow the money. Yep.
So those of you up there in the Rancho Santa Margarita area, that is another election that you should be watching for your area to see how your city is going to shape up in the next 4 years or so. So Joe, tell me what is going on with the congressional seats in 2018, or will 23 repeat itself?
We have 4, and in 2018, historically, they all turned to blue, and now this is going to be the next election since that wave, and it looks like the county is going to be dominated by something called NPP. Do you know what NPP might stand for?
Needs personal protection.
No, it's party preference voters. Okay, no party preference.
Hey, that's me. I'm an NPP. I'm down with NPP. Are you?
So the race these races are gonna tell us how purple we truly are. It's a different county today. It's a more balanced county. The county's electorate is indeed shifting, making it more competitive. Roughly 1/4 of voters in each of the congressional districts have no party preference. So each district, the NPP is going to make a big difference. Now let's go to the 39th district. And this is your councilwoman, or councilman, I should say. Not councilman, congressional representative Gil Cisneros from Fullerton is in a rematch with Republican Young Kim, the former assemblywoman. Now, the 39th should be one of the most competitive. Now, you've seen some of these attack ads already out there that Young Kim has put out towards Gil Cisneros. It's getting pretty ugly out there.
Mailbox is full of them every day. I get tons of. I wish I could click a box and say I've already voted, and not send me that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering, like, will this make a difference what we're talking about today? Because nationally, 95 million people have already voted. It's
Yeah.
crazy. They're already at 2016 levels. So whatever happens on Tuesdays is going to be historical about the numbers.
We're looking at
So-
100 and I'm sorry to interrupt, Joe. We're looking at about 160 million people voting in this election, and they say this is the largest predicted turnout ever.
Wow. So Kim has consistently made efforts to distance herself from national Republicans, and Cisneros is a Navy veteran and a lottery winner. I think that's kind of interesting. Voter registration is pretty even. Democrats have a slight registration advantage in that district. There's a pretty high no party preference presence. No party preference presence. Say that 4 times fast as well. Now, Trump's effect on the election might be too much for Kim to fight off. Now let's look at 45.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's see. 45.
That's the
Freshman-
president's number.
45 district. Katie Porter, we love Katie. District Democrat from Irvine is taking on Republican candidate Greg Rice, who's also a Mission Viejo city councilman, and where the race is, where the voter registration is nearly even. Porter is a college professor who has gained national attention for her questioning of financial executives during the Committee on Oversight and Reform hearings. Rath is a former Marine Corps fighter pilot and wants to reform unemployment systems. The Republicans' voter registration advantage might be lost in the wash because of Trump's low OC approval rating. Interesting.
Katie Porter's a weird chick.
She's weird, but I mean, did you watch her rattle off of those guys, those financial guys? Made them just, uncomfortable.
I didn't see that one. I watched another one, and she asked like weird questions.
Yeah, she goes about it her own special way. Okay, so here we go. 48 congressional district. It's probably the most talked about is between Harley Ruda, a Democrat from Laguna Beach, squaring off against Michelle Still, a Republican for the coastal district, where the GOP has a 6-point registration advantage. Now, Ruda is a former Republican and a business owner who wants to lower the cost of prescription drugs and expand healthcare coverage. Steele is a county supervisor looking to end sanctuary cities and is against government-run healthcare, but aims to protect protections for people with pre-existing conditions. So I don't know if you can have both at the same time.
Sure.
Let's see. At a board of supervisors meeting earlier this year, Steele questioned the science behind the masks and followed the lead of the president. And Steele, along with the majority of the county supervisors, pushed back against a mandatory mask order. Now, the OC Register's electoral board endorsed Ruda. Ruda has been a reliable supporter of criminal justice and policing reforms. Ruda supports the end of federal marijuana prohibition, while Steele suggests repealing the Federal Department of Education, but was otherwise light on specifics about downsizing the federal government. So that takes us to 49. 49 with Mike Levin, Democrat from Orange County, is defending his seat against Republican Mike Mayotte, a San Juan Capistrano City Council member. Levin's an environmental attorney who wants to help clean up the San Onofre nuclear generating station, and Mayotte is a financial planner who wants to reform some social programs. But I don't think it's going to be too competitive a race because back in 2018, it was pretty much a blowout. And I think it's pretty safe for Levin's seat. Although Democrats might have a slight edge in voter registration, remember the NPP, the no party preference voters, will make a difference in 2020. I have spoken.
You know me. I'm down with NPP. Yeah, you know me. Rapid. Hey, well, those freaking crazy seats and the battle's there, right? We are a divided county now, purple, right? We're not either way. And the NPPs, those like guys like me, we are strong and loud, and we're the swing vote. So all those candidates have to come and knock on our door and ask us for their vote. And that being said, though, because we are divided as a county, we're divided as a nation, and we're hitting some scary times here. Are we going to have an election where we do not have a clear winner early on, which I think that's what's going to happen, especially at the national elections? You have the state of Pennsylvania, who said they might not even start counting votes until the weekend, right? So that, are we even going to know? And that's a swing state, right? That's one of those ones that you must win to win this entire thing. So we might not. We're not. Well, I say might. We will not know who wins on Tuesday. It's not going to be like the old times when you would watch the election polls come in and know, but before you went to bed, who won. It might be more like like what Joe was saying about was a 2020 when Bush versus Gore, where we didn't know for a couple weeks or a couple.
2000.
It was 2000. Like what, 4 days was it? Yeah, we might not know who we. There is a potential. There is a potential here that we will not know who is going to be the president of the United States until like Jan 1 or later. Right? I mean, it depends on lawsuits and this and that, and whose votes are being counted and not being counted, and all this craziness, and can you throw votes out? So we're looking at some serious times here. So a non-denominational group of people, faith leaders, outside the Honda Center in Anaheim, on October 30th, got together and asked for calm across our county, hopefully across the nation as well. And so they got together, call for action or prayer. I'm just looking at a picture here. I wish I could. I was going to try sharing some of these pictures, but I can't today because my computer's not playing well with us. So anyway, we have the images of signs being held up regarding keeping calm for votes, and I think that's important to understand that we should probably. Hopefully people will listen. However, that being said, everything I've been reading out there on things, I mean, you have what Beverly Hills and those areas are already boarding up their stores. There's calls for protests from the radical left side of the equation here. The Antifa, if you will, the BLMs are already having calls for protests. Matter of fact, there's a call for protest. There's a flyer going out right now from BLM saying take to the streets on election day. There's Washington D.C. is one of the targets. LA is a target. They want to take the streets on election day. So the call for calm that by these religious leaders is falling on deaf ears, if you will, when it comes to the radical left that are out there wanting to protest. I have not heard, and I have not heard of any on the radical right going out there and doing any protests, although they might be doing stuff. I don't know. It's just that they're not putting flyers out on Twitter and whatnot. If you want more information, just go to Twitter and you can just look at protests, and you can find a bunch of different protests that are happening and flyers, and that people are going out promoting their different rallies and protests and stuff across the country here. I have not seen any plan for the Orange County yet. However, Santa Ana is one of those areas which they like to kick things off, and we're monitoring that as well. As of today, I have not seen any, and if we have any information, we will post it here on the OC Politics Show's Twitter and Facebook pages. So, Joe, what say you about urging calm, or are we moving into a time with a potential civil war outbreak?
I asked my daughter, I'm like, hey, do you have to work at Starbucks on Tuesday? And she goes, yeah, I'm working from 6 to 10. I'm like, you're calling in sick. You are calling in sick. I think we should just hunker down, act like it's the purge, and let these people the young people hit the streets and do what they need to do, and hopefully no one gets hurt.
You know, I know we should have like the election instead of being like voting the way we do now. We should just do like the purge. And if you want to run, if you like want to run for president or whatever, want to be in charge, you just go out there and like the last person standing is the leader for a year, and then they just do that purge every year. What do you think of that process?
Sounds like Hollywood.
Well, don't we live in Hollywood? I mean, Hollywood adjacent at least.
Yeah.
Or what if we do this instead? What if we take it and we go, hey, let's do kind of like the Hunger Games, right? And each state puts a person up who they want to win, right? And they go into like like the Hunger Games into an arena, and like the last one standing is going to be the president of the United States for that year, right? What do you think of that concept?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
And
it's going to evolve.
And I'm gonna put my money on like some corn-fed dude from Kansas, because those dudes are huge. I don't know if you ever ran into those guys. They're massive pieces of humanity that probably just crush anything that comes in their way. Yeah, I mean they do. Ever since they're like 2 years old, they're like throwing hay bales and shit stuff. Sorry, sore. Do you think you could take one of those dudes, Joe?
No. I take the hit and stay on the ground.
Stay on the ground. There's a guy that was talking about something the other day, and he goes, I feel like I got punched in the face by Mike Tyson. I'm like, that is freaking that. He's like, Wednesday punched me in the face like Mike Tyson. That's what he said. I thought that was hilarious. I love that. I think that this election is going to punch Americans in the face like Mike Tyson. We all have a plan until we get punched in the face, and then from that we're going to be scrambling because this is some confusing stuff. But outside of that election and this issue that's going on, what's going on with Stephen Choi?
Well, Stephen Choi is in a tight race. He's getting it from another Irvine City Councilwoman, Melissa Fox, and this district has been historically safe and Republican, but it's a seat that could flip blue. Now, Choi won the primary, but in the past 7 months, voter registration has AD 68 flipping blue. So Democrats hold an advantage of 410 in a district with more than 300,000 voters. Both candidates have received more than half their funds from their state parties. So there's a lot invested. Fox has outraised and outspent Choi. So now the boundaries are Villa Park to Lake Forest, including Silverado and parts of Irvine. Now check this out. This is going to be interesting. 49.9% voter registration are Democrat. 37.7% are registered Republican, and 25.6% are independent, are NPPs. So 25% is going to be able to really decide who takes it home. So Choi is 76 years old, a Korean immigrant, and he's a former college professor, a doctorate in library science. And Fox is 52 years old. So, and she has practiced law in Orange County for more than 25 years. So I don't know about an age. This is definitely people are looking at ages because there's 20-year difference between the two of them. But Stephen Choi has been around. He's even a Kumon tutor. Did you know that? In his spare time? Yeah, he's Kumon tutor. So he's a good guy. Fox is, you got dichotomy. You got the Korean immigrant and the blonde-eyed, blue-eyed girl from Irvine. So it's quite some contrast. But to be honest with you, the election forecasters are calling it a toss-up. But like we said before, the NPPs are really going to decide where it flows.
The NPPs, yeah, you know me. That's the whole thing right there, man. I have I have done some stuff with Stephen Choi in the past. I don't know if he remembers me or not. But when I was working over at Concordia University, he came and did some stuff with us. He got us some money for the Veterans Center that we put up over there. So I mean, he's very, very out there and supporting the community. So he's a pretty nice guy. I don't know Melissa Fox at all. Never heard of her. I mean, I heard of her through this, but I've never met her. Even during my time working in the city, she never came over to do anything with us over at the school that I know of. But that's my only experience with those two people.
Melissa Fox is the one that tattled on Miller.
Oh,
for the improper use of paper and
she
mailers and flyers.
So she's not only running for city council or for assembly here. She is she's also like an operative. She wants to crush people.
She's a whistleblower.
Whistleblower. I wouldn't call her a whistleblower. She's a candidate. She's a politician.
She
can politicians be a whistleblower? I don't think that counts. I think that's called killing your opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, whistleblowing's like, hey, I'm going to telltale on this because I have no other thing but to do the right thing. In this case, she's like, I want him to lose his election, so I'm going to throw dirt. Mudslinger. She's a mudslinger, not a whistleblower.
There you
go. She's slinging those muds. Anyway, hey, listen, Joe, I got to tell you this. Look, we're here at the end of this really bad political season. COVID hit us hard. People are fighting. This is the summer of riots and protests, if you will, across the nation. Looks like it's going to continue with everything I'm reading as far as the chatter goes. And I have to just say, going back with our story on the religious leaders .com, we do need to come together as a nation. We used to be able to do this, right? We used to be able to be opposite parties, have different political views, and still sit down and drink a beer, have you over for the barbecues and whatnot. And it's interesting. I was looking at this thing on Facebook the other day, which is not necessarily the best place to get political insight, but one of my classmates that I went to school with in high school, she posts this thing. She's very, very left, by the way. And she posts this thing saying, hey, no matter who you vote for, don't let that, divide our friendship. And I thought that was pretty nice. And then I started reading some of the comments, and there are people in there there's like, I will never be friends with anybody who could support Trump because of this, and this. There's like 4 or 5 people in there that went through this thing and said that, if you are a Trump supporter, they will not be friends with you. And, look, I tell you, I voted for Jo Jorgensen, right? I voted Libertarian for various different reasons why I voted for her. But here's the thing is I have friends that I care for dearly that voted for Trump or that want to vote for Trump. I have friends that care for dearly that are voting for Biden or want to vote for Biden or, and I'm like, that's the way it should be, but we have been so divided as a nation, and maybe, I don't know, I hate to say this. Are we going down the pipeline of where we cannot repair those relationships? And if we do go down that pipeline there, if we do go down that path to where we cannot repair relationships, and you are going to stand by your party before you're going to stand by the nation, we're looking at a world of hurt, and there are nations out there, China and Russia for specifics, that would love to see us implode. That's what their goal is, right? They want to see us implode. They want to see us at each other's throat because a weak America is good for them, and a weak America is bad for the world, like it or not. And that's where we're at. And we're becoming a weak America, and it really hurts my heart. I know that producer Brian and I have had long conversations about how the system has been broken and failing for a while. I'm not sure how to fix it, but going at each other's throats over people who you don't even know, who don't care about you individually, and are just looking for party power, is probably not the hill that you want to stand and die on. And that's my take for the day. Joseph, how about you?
I'm just worried. It's one more thing to worry about and gives me anxiety. And I'm hoping that whoever wins this election recognizes that there has to be some healing, and that their agendas are going to be for making things better for everybody, not just one particular party. I'm hoping if Trump does win, that he does soften up a little bit and change his ways. He doesn't have to prove anything. He doesn't have to campaign anymore. This is it. He can just enjoy his last 4 years and do something positive without wrecking America. And I hope if Biden wins, the same thing. I hope he can do it. I hope he can put away all this hate and anger and frustration that people have, and give them something to focus on that's positive.
Producer Brian, I want to bring you in. Can't hear you.
Why, Todd? Why?
That's better. Why? Because we love your opinion. First of all, love the hair, looking good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what's your take? This is
Can you repeat the question so I don't misspeak?
Sure. It is. What is your opinion on the divided America? Can we heal?
I don't think we can. I would hope we can and would. However, my opinion is we can't trust mainstream media. You obviously can't trust things you hear on the internet for the majority of it. People are basing opinions on information that is half-hearted and has an agenda behind it. And I mean, as we see, companies are boarding stores up already. And I would hate to see civil unrest. I would hate to see America not have a peaceful transition of power, but I don't know if that's a reality right now, unfortunately. Yeah. Over through COVID, Todd and Joe, I've been watching a lot of documentation. I shouldn't say watching documentation, reading a lot and watching a lot on the history of America and the way this country has behaved in the past and the way we continue to behave. I think that the silent majority is standing up, and I think they truly want to reshape America into something that we grew up thinking would be bad.
Yeah.
And I think we still have that opinion. It would be bad, but we grew up in a different time with different ideals and principles and morals. And if the majority want change and the majority show up and vote, then I think that maintaining a peaceful transition of power is us realizing that our ideals are outdated and this is the path we need to go down because that's what the majority wants and they voted. And it's a hard pill to swallow. It truly is.
Yeah, I find it interesting you say that because I mean I wouldn't call those guys the silent majority. They're definitely out there loud. But what I find interesting is there's places, and I've said this before, if you're a socialist in your heart, that's what you believe is the best thing for you. There's places for you to go, right? You can go to those other countries that you think are outstanding for socialism, but there isn't another America as the Constitution's laid out, right? There isn't another place that has those ideals. Now, whether we've made it to that level or not, whether we that's a different debate. But there isn't another place that says, hey, we're going to fight as hard as we can to guarantee these specific freedoms. And that's my only thing, and freedom of speech is one of those things. And I know that we, had this conversation before regarding freedom of speech, but at least we have a document that says that we have this, because Canada does not have freedom of speech. There's laws specifically saying you can't say certain words. England, France, Germany, those other Western areas that we talk about all the time do not have that freedom of speech. Or you could go to jail for just saying things that don't meet the populist feelings. And the thing with the First Amendment is that we should be protecting the stuff that we don't like. It's easy to swallow pills that taste great, right? So sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, but it's the stuff that people say that you disagree with as the stuff that needs to be protected, because that is what America stands for. And we don't do the best job of it all the time, but we do a better job than others. And where there are no other countries in the world that defend freedom of speech and for the 10, our Bill of Rights that we have, that are there. And that's what I fight for. And if the majority comes out and says they don't want freedom of speech, well, that's where I stand up and say, F you, right? That is not what we're about, right? We need that piece, that one simple thing that's in our Constitution, right, is worth dying for. And that's a hill that I have signed my life away to one time before, that I would protect. And I won't give that up easy. I don't think that Americans should give those freedoms up easy. And,
I don't think we should give them up either. But as more and more people turn out to vote, they're going to vote for things that we wouldn't have, that we don't like. But if they were voted for fairly and legally, and they're enacted, so are we going to be the sore loser and pick up arms and fight because it's not what we agree with? Or are we going to help allow a peaceful transition of power?
It's a good question. I don't know if that's sore losing though. I mean, because if that mindset, right, is what we fought a war over for in 1861, right, where it was there's majorities of people who wanted certain things to be done, and the minority party won, and the majority party went to war, right? So the majority party said, hey, we're going to split because we don't agree with the Republican mindset of non-slavery. That being said, again, 1965, when the majority of Americans didn't agree with the Civil Rights Act, and again, Congress picked that up and voted for it and said, no, we need to protect the minority views. Those are the things that I'm talking about. And we're not perfect at all. We have our warts and our problems in America that we need to work through. But at the end of the day, we cannot allow, and we don't, constitutionally wise, we developed the system this way where we don't have mob mentality rule, right? We do not have that. It's not set up that way. It's set up to protect the minority. We are a very slow, that's the way we're set up. And it's frustrating for people who, there's college students out there that believe that freedom of speech should be limited, that we should get rid of it. The First Amendment is old, and if you hurt my feelings, you should go to jail for saying things.
Well, right. And I think as podcasters, we're definitely at the forefront of fighting for free speech. However, to a point, we're broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook right now, who can pull this piece of content for what we're discussing right now.
Absolutely.
In their little Facebook jail.
Yep.
But it's more than just freedom of speech. What about right to privacy, Todd? Our privacy has been violated time and time again, documented by our own government. Isn't that something to maybe stand up for and fight for?
Absolutely. And I agree with that. And I think that's something that again,
he's not to. And this is a conversation you and I have had at length.
Well, but here's the difference though, Brian, when it comes to privacy, right? A lot of the stuff that we do, especially like go back to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all those things. If you read that thing, we are signing away privacy rights, right, to these non-government agencies that can do whatever the fuck they want to do with our stuff, right? They've said it. That's what you sign away. Now, with the NSA spying on us, if you look at the Snowden thing, and those, absolutely freaking completely wrong, and we should know about that, right? And you should have a FISA warrant, or you should have warrants to be able to go and look at your stuff. I agree with you 100%. And again, those things are being done outside or within the murky waters of the law, right? If they're within maybe the letter of the law, the way they do it or whatever, but not within that spirit of the law. So they're in the murky waters of the law to be able to spy on us. But we have signed. We're sitting here on this particular StreamYard is what we're using, and that, I'm sure, I haven't read the entire thing, but I bet you if you look through it, there's some privacy stuff in there that we're signing away. Because we're our iPhones. But if you don't say yes, we can't use the software.
And again, before we go down this rabbit hole of corporations that we're paying to utilize platforms, I'm talking about the NSA. I'm talking about those violations of our rights.
No, I agree with you 100%. And we've had this conversation before. But no, I mean, I agree with you that we need to look at how we can curb this. I mean, as a guy who is a libertarian leaning person, right? I am all about the more freedoms and less government is ideal, right? The classic liberal, if you will, the Thomas Jefferson liberal, that link of people, right? Where less government is better. Where and that's what scares me. That's what scares me about, say, a Bernie Sanders type guy. Not necessarily, and I'm using that type of person who is more in for like, hey, let's give more government power, and let's turn more stuff over to the government. It's like, no, man. I mean, that is not a safe place for anybody to get into, where you have people that are running the NSA to be able to just wiretap you, for no particular reason. They say there's rules that are associated with it, but and we had this. This goes back, right? I mean, this is not anything new, because when the FBI was established, you had Hoover that had files on dissidents, right? Whatever people he didn't like, he had his files. We went back to the time of the McCarthy, right, with the whole communist thing, where he was like, have you ever been, or are you now a member of the Communist Party? That type of stuff. We are seeing that flip, right? That whole script is flipped, right? From have you now ever been a member of the Communist Party to, have you ever been a conservative, right? And you've seen this happen a lot, where you're seeing that thing flipped. So, when you start having people in power like this is when your rights and your personal freedoms are crushed under that power. The thing that cracks me up about the Antifa kids, right, is that they're the most fascist group of people that are out there. Because we don't let you speak. Shut up! Don't speak! Don't you say those words! Shut up! Right? They literally say that is fascism. That is when the mob rule shuts down debate and conversation about things, and that is what we're fighting for. And that's what this, that's the stuff that scares me the most. What do you say, Joe? You've been quiet.
You scared me, Todd.
Didn't scare you into silence?
No, I'm just beside myself just watching it all happen. I have a degree in history, and for you to see this happen, the way it's happening, the way it's playing out, it's been done before, but now the stakes are getting higher. Now more people are involved. There's more people getting really involved, not just passively, but putting on the black, getting the stick, and walking out the door and trying to make it happen. A lot more of those kids are out there.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're not going to solve the world's problems today in this conversation, but I think it was a good one to have. And obviously tomorrow's election day, and the scary part about it is everybody is gearing up for for civil unrest, nationwide civil unrest.
And we won't
Dude.
even have an answer.
We won't have an answer. Nope. We won't have an answer. So, all right, Brian, let's bring some music in. Let's end this thing. Thank everybody for listening to us. And follow us on your favorite podcast player here on Facebook, on YouTube. And Joe, love you, man. Brian, love you, man. Out, y'all. Everybody else, I love y'all. Take care. Vote. Stay local. Stay involved.